Okay, we are recording. Hello, welcome to our nighttime trek recordings. We're recording this late in the evening UK time.
Yeah, incredibly late. And somewhat fitting for us. A little bit late after um, at least one of the episodes is finished.
Yes,
So,
we're recording our review of Star Trek Discovery Coming Home. We're not that late. We're on par. It's only the last episode, and it was
oh
only
yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
Thursday.
yeah.
Like if we get this up
No, I'm
before, if we get this up before Thursday, we're
mm,
like
almost
timely. Yeah.
almost timely. Yeah, it's because I watched episode 12 as well this evening.
Ah,
Because the wife hadn't seen episode
yeah.
12.
We've
So
already reviewed that.
yeah, yeah. So in my mind, I was thinking about episode 12 as well at the same
God, I
time.
loved this episode. This was the perfect finale to the whole season.
It was excellent. Yeah.
And this episode is called Coming Home.
Mm,
Spoilers for Discovery episode 12 Coming Home ahead.
mm.
This is our final episode of season 4.
Certainly is.
And our final episode of season 2 of Disco Decks.
Yep.
Although season 1 is a weird one of Disco Decks because it's half of it is
Mm.
at least placed at the end of reviews of movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't know what we were doing back then.
No, I mean,
We
let's be
didn't.
fair, we still don't know what we're doing.
No, but I mean, we didn't know we were going to open Pandora's box. That
I
was
mean, this is just an
the
excuse. This is really
the
just an
absolute.
excuse for me and you to talk about Star Trek, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
We don't live in the same town anymore, so
mm,
we just so happen
so
to
we get.
record our discussions.
Mm, um. So yeah, this is and this will be the last episode of anything Star Trek based, unless it creeps into
You
a
know, I
different.
just had the dawnning
Different
realization
show.
that I've forgotten to upload episode 12 onto Bears Bowling Cut. No, as in onto
Yeah,
the
yeah,
normal channel. So
yeah.
the normal channel
Um.
will be getting a double bill of these episodes when this one goes
Mm.
up.
So yeah, the last of the original channel. To get anything Star Trek related, as I say, unless it creeps into something else like Double Feature Film Club, which it has done before. I think
Yeah.
we at least 2 episodes we've managed to get First Contact in there or something, something like that.
But no,
Um,
Double Feature Film Club has been renamed going forward anyway.
mm,
To
go on.
a pairing with a mummy.
Oh yeah.
As everything will be the mummy from now on. Hit 1996
9 was it?
or 9, one of those two.
I think it was 9.
Doesn't really matter.
Um,
But yeah,
yeah. James loves it that much that he doesn't care when it's like
part of the. I mean,
it's beyond time. It's
canonically, it's
universal.
part of Star Trek. I'm sure it happened in the past Star Trek.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
certainly does. Yeah,
Canonically,
yeah.
it's just.
I mean,
That film is canon to everything. That is the.
it's canon to everything. Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's set in the distant future of Star Wars. So as is everything, as Star Wars is a long time ago.
I adored the opening of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Federation headquarters, Starfleet command is all kind of rolled into one, flying through warp. So we learn it's
Yeah.
a ship
Yeah.
flying through warp to get to Earth to start evacuation proceedings.
Mm.
And
I mean, it makes sense that like at this point, eventually, something of that size could move like
Yeah.
a ship, as well.
we learn that each deck can basically eject as a
Slice away.
as a lifeboat.
Yeah. Mm.
And they get to Earth and start helping United Earth to evacuate. We see Tilly and the crew, and her cadets, and the Admiral. And
Yep.
the cadets are. You see that growth has happened with the cadets between when we last saw them and now.
Yeah,
As
on the
in-
Tilly episode. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be really showing those Federation kind of.
Teamwork, team spirit, and
Yeah.
happiness. Yes.
And
yeah.
there's no like where they want to help more than they can, and the Admiral says how many people realistically they can save. And there's a moment in all of this where this all hinges on Discovery. Because this rescue mission, they will save people, but it's fundamentally hopeless.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
And yet they're here anyway.
Yeah.
It's the notion of this. They can't really help. Not really. But
No, in the grand, they 450,000 people from Earth, which, like, even assuming that Earth isn't as populous as it is now, that potentially with disasters and all sorts of stuff. That,
before, I'd say Earth is potentially more populous than it is in like 23rd, 24th century because it's become a much more secluded, isolationist planet again.
It could be less than 0.5% of the Earth population then.
And but they're here anyway, and that's what I like the fact that there's this tacit acknowledgement that if Discovery fails, this whole thing is kind of hopeless. But that was quite rustly then.
Sorry.
So, but they're gonna try anyway. Like, because what else can you do?
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's try or well, I mean, to reference the other star, it's do or do not.
And it felt like this is more than anything else we've seen. This is the Federation reborn.
100%.
This is them in that crisis mode. Like, well, like we've got to at least try and save people. These people need help, and we're the only people who can even somewhat offer it. Are you okay? You're very crackly.
Yeah, I'm fine.
No, I meant your mic. You're very crackly. Every time you move slightly,
it should okay. Yeah.
I think it's because you started holding it and you never used to. But every time you move your hands, I just get audio feedback. Sorry, guys. Matt's just having a look at his audio. But yeah, Star Trek is neat.
Yes.
Apologise for this crackling you may be hearing at the moment.
Right.
It's like the weather.
That's it.
Yeah, you're a little bit quieter, but it's better because you're not crackling.
No worries, I'll just speak up. Right. Yeah, it was. In the end, it was essentially the end game of what the last 2 seasons have been about. Really,
Yeah.
The rebuild of.
The last one season. Oh, it was 2 seasons including this one. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. The rebuild of the Federation.
And we're gonna come back to
that notion
and to this scene later, because we do throughout the episode cut back to the Admiral and Tilly on this ship. Because at a certain point, he calls for all hands to abandon. As the asteroids from the gravitational waves start to impact, the Admiral calls for all hands to abandon the ship. And he's going to hold on and defend the rest of the ships getting away.
Defend the rest of the ships, and I think they're partly responsible for helping to maintain the shields of Earth, because Earth has like defense shields as well.
We'll also see an awesome ship during all of this. I forget what class it is, but that effectively is that the flagship.
I think it's the flagship.
Yeah.
The one that was getting everyone off Titan.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah.
And obviously,
absolute unit of a ship, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. But yeah, he orders all hands to abandon ship, but Lieutenant Tilly obviously insists on staying because it really requires at least 2 of them to get the job done. You know what? This is technically the B plot of the episode, so maybe we just discuss all this.
Let's just keep.
And I like the moment of obviously he has some ale that thingy bought him actually.
Yeah, it was rice and whiskey.
Yeah, rice and whiskey bought by
By Tarka.
by Tarka.
Mm. I like that he doesn't argue with her as well.
Yeah,
That like
because he knows
obviously that
he
could
needs
have been a
someone
bit
there
of a
with him.
cliched scene
Yeah,
where like he's like, God damn it, just leave.
yeah, but you get the matter of fact like, no, you need me here, and he acknowledges that yes, he probably
Yeah.
does, and I guess in a way you get them preparing for their
Demise.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Tilly talks about how for her there's worse ways she could go, like
Yeah, I mean she in a way she's at peace.
yeah,
Like with absolutely everything that she's been through. The number of times that she's probably thought she's going to die.
yeah,
And yet she's found, as you mentioned before, with the evolution of the characters of her cadets.
she's found her purpose.
Even in that short period of time, she's had a significant impact on their lives. No, and that's not to mention literally saving the galaxy a couple of times.
This season's been so good. I don't think I've always loved Tilly's character, but I don't realize how much I'd missed her since she left until she was back here, and it's like, yes, Tilly.
Yeah, because it was like spoilers. They set this up that this might be because obviously we speculated that there was going to be a death, or two or what have you.
Yeah.
Last episode. But this very much felt like, oh no, they're not going to kill Tilly.
Oh no, I never thought that was. I never felt that way.
I don't know. I had a feel. I mean,
in my mind, the only way that would happen would be if they failed,
or if it was a bit late, maybe, like not a full failure, but.
But yeah, I never really felt any fear that either the Admiral or Tilly were actually going to.
I don't know, because I thought, well, what if the actress? I can't remember the actress's name, but what if they wanted out?
It's maybe Wiseman.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, and this was like.
No, I kind of think that maybe she's part of the rumored Starfleet Academy show,
which would be great.
But,
I mean, if they're going to go for it, like,
yeah, some wonderful seeing of a Federation here. So, shall we move to our A plot? Back
I think we should
outside the borders of the galaxy to the 10C. So yeah, where we left them, Tarka had commandeered Buck's ship and was flying to get his power source.
Yes.
Disco's having to try and figure out how to break free because the 10C has fundamentally cut off communications. It doesn't trust them anymore.
No, because obviously the actions of Tarka and Buck.
Yes.
And
we learn why later on as well. Because this species doesn't have a concept of individuals in the same way. So in its mind, Tarka and Buck is the exact same thing as Discovery.
Yeah.
Tarina tries to mind meld with it, as we predicted. It wasn't the solution, as we predicted it may be, but we do get to see.
Although it was sort of the key to the solution, because she was the one that realised the important information of that they are a collective, as opposed to a group of individuals.
Like the Borg, but less assimilating.
Yeah, or possibly closer to the founders in Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
The shapeshifters.
But yeah, nevertheless, Discovery breaks through. They stop. I'm gonna actually beat through the story plots actually now, because what I want to talk about most heavily here is theme. So discovery is the only way to stop it at this point is to really blow up Book's ship with a shuttle. You have some wonderful moments with the Earth General, United Earth General, upon her. Obviously, she's betrayed them all, so Michael confines her to quarters. But then there's a realizing that she's potentially she volunteers to pilot the shuttle because it's a potential suicide one. And I love the little moments on the bridge crew when Detmer is going to be flying the shuttle.
Yeah.
Because she's the best pilot they have.
Yeah, and she kind of like gets ready to be asked. She doesn't necessarily volunteer straight off.
Yeah.
But like swivels around in the chair, just gets ready to stand up, and then obviously Michael says, "Can you?" Essentially, like just. And then of course she's ready and she stands up and with the B plot of one of the previous episodes as well being her having her final arc as well. Well, not final arc, but like her, I suppose a slightly deeper story, a more personal one. Again, it was a nice little, albeit short-lived. Oh, is it her that's going to be the sacrifice?
But the general,
you definitely felt that someone was going to be sacrificed.
The general volunteers out of a sense of trying to solve the mistake she's made, effectively.
Yeah.
This is partly her mess, so she'll own it.
Yeah.
At this point, Book's kind of wrestled his ship back, but it's too late. And then, you have some wonderful stuff with Tarka. After, obviously, Reno's managed to get back to
Disco.
And Book and Tarka on ship. And at this moment, Tarka wants to stop as well, but it's too late.
Yeah, because he set up a powerful encryption that would take far too long to...
He's such a heartbreaking villain. Because there's no escape from it. He is the villain of the piece.
Oh, 100% he's the villain of the piece.
But I will hold on, but I still think he's... He is Sauron from Generations done better.
Yes. Yeah, I get you.
Like, the more and more this has gone along, the more and more I've been convinced of that.
Yeah.
He is... And this is the theme of the whole, and I'll touch more on this in a bit, but like him talking about, because he knows his friend, as Book points out, his friend wouldn't want him to do this.
No.
And like Book cradling him in his arms as he kind of, I think, as it all dawns on him.
Oh yeah, it's a lovely moment because obviously like it took such. In the previous episode, there was quite a bit of violence from Book to try and stop Tarka.
Yeah.
And of course, the violence just reflected back on himself with Tarka's shields. And realistically, it was a softer touch that was needed in the end.
Which I think is important for Book's journey towards the end of the episode as well. And
100%, yeah.
Unfortunately, ship gets destroyed with Book and Tarka on board. They try and beam Book out, but fail. And you get this wonderfully played by Martin Green on the bridge as Burnham has the moment of heartbreak that her partner's just.
Yeah, it was great. It felt immediately. I thought of when David died and Kirk collapsed, because I mean, as we've said before, like she does feel quite Kirkish at
And
times.
there is that
Um,
moment of she has the moment, but it's like, but we've still got work to do.
yeah, like because obviously certain captains would potentially try and keep that stiff upper lip, including herself, or including Kirk at times. But obviously, when like they've been through so much and
Yeah,
so much trauma, and she's been hurt so much, and she's so stressed and tired, and obviously any of us would cry when we lose a loved one in such, especially so immediately, but it was not just the straw that broke the camel's back, but
thing is,
possibly like the cannon that shot right
I
through it.
think she is at emotionally.
Mm,
She is at a point where she's capable of that because what she's kind of above a lot of the themes of this season because
mm,
she's had her moment of
yeah,
darkness. The theme, the themes of the season, what you have to rise above, she's lived through already.
oh, 100%.
So she's in a
Yeah.
more emotionally mature place. Maybe that's not the right term, but like
No, no,
the
I think you're correct.
because
Yeah.
that's what this through line is here. This and
Mm,
we see it more in the final as well, where they go to to pick up negotiations again,
mm,
and the Tensi are curious, so they're asking a lot of questions
mm,
about. And the minute they realise what's happening, they stop the machine,
yeah.
and like they want to know why. When all this happens, they then want to know why Michael is still sad.
Yes.
Turns out they beam Book out and have him in.
Well, they intercepted his
Yeah, so he's
signal.
been
Yeah,
held
yeah. In
in the
stasis.
pattern buffer.
Essentially. Yeah.
So they beam him back effectively.
Mm,
Um, and you have this tenuous point where they've decided they're going to be much more careful with how they mine in the future.
mm.
But it's not enough a Book.
No.
He says it has to stop completely. And there's obviously this tenuous moment where everyone else is looking at it in the idea of,
Yeah.
well,
This could ruin everything.
yeah. And this is
All that
where
good.
I guess all that stuff about him being an empath is where it really
Mm,
builds in. Because we realise that what they're doing is out of pain as well
yeah.
and fear.
Mm,
They lost their world.
yeah.
So they've erected this barrier around themselves.
Mm,
And Book's journey throughout this allows him to make the very valid points of we can't live like this.
no. No.
Because all these people we hurt, in our anger, in our fear, in our pain, the mistakes we make are the people that get hurt because of it.
Yep.
And they agree.
Yeah.
So they open themselves to the world, to the galaxy again.
Mm,
And obviously that is the through line of what this season is all about.
all about. Yeah. Yeah.
Grief, pain, fear, and how rising above it isn't the right term because all of those are valid things.
It's
They're valid.
learning how you deal with it, not necessarily rising above, but
Yeah.
learning how to deal with it productively.
Learn how to move forward.
Mm,
How to not let it,
consume you,
yeah,
define you.
like it did Tarka, because it did. That's the thing. That is why Tarka is our villain of a piece.
Mm,
Not because he was inherently evil,
yeah.
but because he couldn't.
Yeah, because it's in a way.
Because he was given every chance at several times
Mm,
to think, right?
yeah.
To step back from the void.
Mm,
but he couldn't do it.
Yeah, because it's
Even in the end, he couldn't do it.
Looking back on it, it's a somewhat cliched origin story for the villain that could be overplayed. Of like, was imprisoned, was done wrong to, etc., etc. And quite often that will happen in a film or a TV series,
Yeah.
and it's they're somewhat two-dimensional characters, and yet somehow they've managed to write this character who actually is at least to begin with, is as cold and unforgiving as it comes, and yet you slowly over actually not that many episodes realistically, gain an understanding for this character where you feel sorry for them.
He's heartbreaking because he couldn't be saved. Like it. His last act is to save Buck, arguably. Right? Because I think even at that moment, like, I think he knows he'd never stop, is the thing.
Yeah.
I think he knows he's too far gone. Like, and I think it's that moment also that makes Buck realise, like, that you can't carry on like this, right? Like,
100%.
And that's why it's interesting, because this is Michael's season 1 arc.
Yeah.
She lets fear and pain control her, and it leads to a war.
Yeah.
Countless dead. Like, it's why I think she has an intrinsic understanding of what, even if Buck wasn't ready to see it, what Buck was going through.
Oh, yes, definitely. And indeed what Tarka was going through as well. You know, again, it's that great full circle moment for Michael, really, where she's gone from being this brash rogue all the way to being someone who is a fully fledged captain that deserves to be one.
Michael knows it can get better, but it's hard to see the forest for the trees when you're in the middle of it, isn't it? Like, that's for...
of course, yeah. And I mean, especially with such grief that, like, Buck in particular must feel.
Yeah.
Like, in his entire planet.
And his whole speech to the 10C is so heartfelt, and, like, he's...
Because, of course, his people, his species, in some ways, actually are not dissimilar.
Yeah.
In their society.
I loved when all the 10C's headlights mimicked his
fluorescence.
And I guess
whatever it is.
They are creatures, and he is he can communicate
empathic,
too. So maybe that was happening in that situation.
I got the feeling that was that. It was him finally reaching, like, him almost finally remembering in a way, like, no, actually, this is what I am. I have this ability. I'm mourning my people, and yet I'm somewhat ignoring what we can do. And
it's the fact that they can live on through
him
and his actions.
Yeah.
And what do you want those actions and choices
to
be? Because there's two paths, isn't there? There's the path to a better future, which is what Star Trek is ultimately all about. It's not that the future is... Star Trek is not about the fact that the future is perfect. It's that the future can be better.
Yes.
That future... And that we can reach it if we only listen to a better angels, I guess.
Yeah.
Tarka is the other end of that spectrum. What happens if you wallow in regret in the past? Yeah,
I mean, I'm now we're talking about it, I think there's so much that could be said about this season. The potential allegories that are made
Yeah.
of things like the thirst for energy, the thirst for power, mining. Obviously, this could be taken in a very literal sense of a fossil fuel story. It could also be taken in a nuclear arms race kind of
Even
story as well, of isolationism. There's much to be said here that,
even Earth's
like,
story,
yeah,
like how Earth is an isolationist society now,
mm,
and we have this very much shoot first general as our only real interaction with it so far, up until the
yeah,
end, anyway.
mm,
And even through this, like her path as well of learning that no, you can't let that fear
no,
control,
no, you
like
can't.
decide your
Mm.
actions, because you will always be acting out of yeah,
From the yeah,
and
you'll be letting the darkness control you.
you won't know who will get
Um,
hurt in the wake of what you do, which is
yeah,
exactly what the 10C have been doing, right? They've had no
yeah,
idea of who's been getting hurt in the wake of their fear,
mm,
and obviously, so peace is found, and the 10C opens a wormhole for them to get back to Earth.
mm.
They
Because in the
basically allow them
meantime,
to travel.
they've had to destroy the spore drive essentially.
Yes.
Like it's not that it can't be rebuilt, but they don't have the
What
parts
got me
available
though,
or whatever.
there's a line that was said here, pulling out of all the
Mm,
gushing about the themes of
mm,
this season. They talk about how it'll take them decades
yeah,
to get home
mm,
via warp,
yeah,
but I couldn't work
yeah,
out why it would be decades, because as soon as we got through the barrier, they've not been able to use the spore drive anyway. So they've
yeah,
warped everywhere on this side.
mm,
They didn't use the spore drive through the barrier.
yeah. But they used the spore drive to get to the barrier.
They did, but
Mm,
Enterprise, like TOS Enterprise, got to the barrier.
but at the close edge of it,
Yeah, but my point
I'm
is,
sh- yeah.
they're in the alpha quadrant, and
I
I'm pretty
don't think they
sure
are.
the warp speeds of
No, I think that because I think the part of the barrier they've had to go through is at the far end of the galaxy. I'm sure that they've said that it was potentially like,
I don't know.
yeah,
It doesn't matter anyway.
um,
They got wormholed through basically the remnants of the
mm,
DMA back to Earth. And here's where we
um,
get the cameo that pissed off Ted Cruz and a bunch of
yeah, bunch of right wing snowflakes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
they cast Stacey Abrams as president of Earth,
mm,
which
um,
I'm fine with.
yeah,
I actually really like
whatever.
this moment. I like that they're back and they're all waiting, and that the president of the Federation is waiting for effectively a discussion that's opened up now.
Mm,
But that will have to be still a hard-won, diplomatic kind of
yes,
interaction. But it's just like, nah, I mean, after what's just happened,
yeah, we're in.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I love the
I think
conversation with Michael.
I th- certainly. I think the best thing about it though, like, because obviously they're making a real world political statement with the casting,
Yes.
and as they are right to do. Um, she actually played the part quite well.
Yeah.
Like it didn't just feel like a politician.
No,
Delivering
she is a massive Star Trek fan though, apparently.
yeah.
And apparently she's
Um,
been in a various Star Trek fan productions over the years.
so for her, like obviously it was probably dream come true. Then.
Yeah.
Like so, which is fair enough. Like but yeah, I mean she played a decent part. Like
Yeah.
it was obviously a minimal part, but she acted well, I thought, and I
And
thought that like
I like that it ends with Federation headquarters over Earth.
mm,
Back where, at least in our more common time frames that we've experienced,
mm,
where Federation headquarters always has been.
yeah, of course. Although, of course, now Federation headquarters can be wherever the hell it feels like.
Yeah, but it's nice to see
Which
it flying over
over
Earth.
Earth, although
And
albeit in a slightly militaristic look because of all of the ships that were
yeah,
around and what have you.
but I like that it
There's
ends.
certainly been some Star Wars esque aesthetics sometimes this
Yeah,
season.
but I think
Not
that's
that I'm
just the era
complaining.
of the age we're living in.
I know. I mean, I quite liked I
But
love the way the hangar looks,
I
because it's
like
something we've not discussed.
that we end on the notion of Strange New Worlds and to boldly go, right?
Mm,
Like, this feels like okay, we're back now. Now the real work begins. Let's
yeah,
explore. Like,
let's do some exploration. Yeah, because of course, once the spore drive is fixed, they can go literally wherever they want.
yeah,
Um, within the galaxy, of course. But there's still going to be plenty of the galaxy that they haven't necessarily properly explored, or if the Federation ever did touch all corners of the galaxy, it would have only been briefly before the burn.
yeah.
Um, so, who's to say what's happening with the Borg? Like, there could still be the remnants of the Borg out there.
That depends on what
The
happens in Picard.
Yeah.
I mean, at
Obviously,
least we know that the
we
Borg by
have seen founders.
the Borg by the point of Picard season 2 happening has been all but like finished off by the sound of it by Janeway.
Yeah. Although, as we've mentioned before, the Borg appear to come in waves.
Yeah.
In
Plus, we don't know
generational
what's happening in
waves.
that season, so that'll have a
No.
lot to say. You're getting rather pixely again, mate. So I think we've had a good discussion of the episode and the season as a whole there.
Yeah, yeah. Another cracking one.
Yeah.
And like it's one that the actor who played Book or plays Book.
Oh, we didn't. That's something we specify on. I like that. Book has a penance to play effectively. Book has to,
but a suitable one.
yeah, and he's going to go out in much the same way. Again, it mirrors Michael's season 1 arc. His, I don't think punishment is the right word, but his punishment is to fix his.
I think you're correct with penance.
Yeah, it's to fix his mistakes.
Yeah.
It's to use his newfound wisdom for effectively to help other
To help
people.
others. Yeah. To help those affected by the essentially refugees
Yeah,
in a way. Like, so he's gone to essentially a refugee colony to be a counsellor as much as anything else, and help them sort themselves out.
yeah,
Which seems quite fitting. And obviously he's taken the cat that isn't a cat. We're yet to find out what the cat is. Obviously,
It's a cat.
secretly, it's not a cat.
I'm pretty sure it's a cat.
They have said she's not a cat.
No, I'm pretty sure we specified she is a cat.
No, he's said many times she's not a cat.
Really?
I mean, admittedly, it's a joke. Like, he says she's not a cat, she's a queen. So, but there's always been that slight implication that she's a significantly more intelligent being
Yeah.
than just the cat. That almost
Grudge.
it was her ship. Yeah, Grudge, yeah. That it was her ship and Book was the pet who just happened to carry her around.
Well, maybe we'll find out in season 5. Which I think we
will.
might end up getting after Picard season 3 at this rate.
Yeah.
I think Picard season 2 and 3 are potentially going to be very, because we've wrapped on Picard completely. Understandably, they probably wanted to
Well,
get
they
it
want to
done
hedge their
while
bets
Patrick Stewart
because
is with us and healthy.
he's not a spring chicken, yeah.
No.
And unlike Picard, he is not an android.
Um,
So he
so yeah,
certainly isn't going to live
they've wrapped
forever.
on Picard now. Disco season 5 hasn't started filming yet.
Yeah.
I imagine potentially late next year is when we might see it.
I think when they're ready, as I was saying before, that like the Actually Plays book pointed out that like this was a particularly difficult season for them to film
Yes.
because of the various COVID restrictions and what have you. And I think actually considering the difficulty that they probably did have of trying to write to make sure that not too many characters were on screen at any time and etc., like they've done an incredible job.
Yes.
The like
It's
we can praise the excellent acting all we want. I think the team behind the scenes, writers, directors, everyone involved, has done a superb job with this.
yeah, it's been a cracking season, and I think on that note,
mm,
before you turn completely into mashed potato,
yeah, I mean, it's weird. It must just be awful signal because like I've got quite a decent image at my end. It just
it's a
must.
mixture of low light as well. But you always have to remember, like you always get a much better looking picture on your
Yeah,
screen than ends up being transmitted a lot of the time.
yeah. Oh well,
But because you're seeing it uncompressed effectively.
certainly.
But on that note, we should say live long and prosper.
Live long
And
and prosper,
remember,
everyone.
always dance on the disco deck.